There's only one goal in mind on our mission to provide the best quality dogs anywhere on the planet to our clients, and that is to find the ultimate genetic specimens. We invest a lot of time, effort, and money into the relationships we try to foster to find the best dogs available. And there are times we go to many different countries and can't find a single dog. That is how serious we take our selection process. The mission for this latest European trip was to find the ultimate best genetics for our police and breeding program.
Yeah, we made it.
You did better than we anticipated. You found the airport.
Yeah, it's way better. Where are we at, man?
About to take off from Phoenix.
If the genetics are correct for biting, even if it's not ideal foundational bite work, the dog is still willing to take a bite, even if things don't make sense. And it's more dangerous to think it's the one, and when you need him, he fails. I think a lot of times guys set themselves up for failure with a handler protection dog. They're like, well, I could use a lesser dog. Maybe, but you get that 1% call, like, and now your dog goes from an asset to a liability, really detrimental. One of the main reasons we decided to take another trip to Europe to help gather these genetics and look for these dogs is because we're having a very hard time finding these type of dogs domestically. And in Mexico, where we also go and test dogs regularly. So we decided to go across the pond back to Europe and see if we could find some of the best dogs to help complement our training program.
Good dogs are extremely rare. This is the first time in 2 years we had a successful dog buying trip where we tested, let's say 60 dogs, maybe even more, and we took close to 20% of those dogs. Generally, and for those same numbers, we're able to select 3 or 4%.
The things that we look for in our dogs seem like very simple traits, but they're very difficult to find. So we look for a dog that's very open socially, very comfortable around new people as far as a social aspect. And then we look for a dog that holds himself with a lot of confidence in every environment. So basically the dog comes in to a new environment, it seems a little bit, could be scary to some dogs. This dog comes in to every place like he owns the place and like he's been there 1,000 times before, even if he's never seen the location. So dogs that are very sound environmentally, they lose their footing, they slip, they're up high, it doesn't faze them. They keep going about their business. Basically a dog that looks at everything is this a good place to play? Okay, so I think a lot of people, especially when we're out testing dogs, feel like some of the things that we look at in these dogs can be something that's trained. But if we get a dog that's never been to this location before, let's say it's a little bit dark, let's say the stairs are a little bit slippery or open, they're a difficult staircase, we'll give the dog a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. Like, hey, you know what, you've never seen this before, let's see how you navigate it. And if they improve each time to, after seeing it 3 or 4 times, they could care less about it and they're open and they're running around and they get up on top of a high stair platform and they're not worried about falling off the railing. You see them up, you almost have to preserve the dog because you're worried about them almost jumping off a high railing rather than a dog that avoids the railing. These are things that there's a big difference between what we can train and the genetics. For us, if we see big fears, big irrational fears on stairs, on heights, those aren't things that we even try to shape.
The stairs. Oh man, the stairs.
the stairs?
Nobody thinks it's genetic. Like insecurities on heights, insecurities on staircases, whatever. It's like, oh no, that's training. I don't know. How many dogs have we been through development-wise? From 8 weeks old till a year, we've developed the shit out of them. And at the end, they're still hesitant. I mean, it's better,
Yeah,
but they're still hesitant,
absolutely.
right? They're still not gonna work on the staircase. They'll go up and down it, but they're not gonna work. They're not gonna be biting someone on the stairs.
And that's the big part of the problem is people look at the stairs and they say, you know, remember we had that agency here locally that actually told the handler, well, it doesn't matter your dog doesn't like stairs because there's not a lot of stairways in this city. That is the most ridiculously flawed way to think about it. It's
Well,
not
they're
about,
confused. They're confused.
Well, yeah, sure,
They
exactly.
don't
I get it.
actually, they don't just don't understand. Where,
They don't
You know, we're talking about the staircase, but a lot of what you see on the staircase translates to other environments, not just the staircase. It might be
Not a lot
you
of
know,
it, all of it.
Right. But I'm just saying, like, you know, somebody's standing on top of a dresser. It's
Absolutely.
still a similar thing, right?
Yes.
So
I
when
have to
you see-
leave my feet to put my teeth into something.
Yeah.
And a dog who is concerned about leaving its feet to put its teeth into something is not environmentally confident.
Right.
That's
so
what we mean when we say environmentals. It's about how the dog will perform when the environment changes over and over and over. That's environmental stability. We will see that internal insecurity in other areas. We'll see it when the flashbang goes off and the dog shuts down. We'll see it when the suspect actually decides to fight the dog and those stress levels begin to increase, shutting the dog down. We'll see it when they're put in a whole team of officers or the SWAT team and everybody's really congested and confined, yelling and screaming, and now the dog is thinking too much about what they're doing. The staircase is the first tool we use to show those internal feelings.
the genetic pool, everybody talks about it diminishing,
Yes.
and we've learned a lot so far. That it's diminishing for a reason, and nobody's really doing anything about it. But we're chasing, you know, the really very small percentage of dogs, and basically, you know, everywhere we go look, people are like, yeah, good fucking luck.
I think a big part of it, yeah, some people are at good fucking luck, or nobody wants that dog, it's crazy, whatever it is. I think the big disconnect for a lot of people in this industry is that they don't have a very deep understanding of decoy work or bite work, and they haven't put enough time in on the bite, on the decoy side. And when I say decoy, I don't mean catching a dog on a training field. I mean conditioning a dog for real life engagements. I don't know that a lot of people have a lot of hours logged in that field, and I think that's why there's such a big disconnect. You see guys that are just like, oh yeah, the dog bites the sleeve, he's good, or he bites the Kong, he's good. I can tell just from that. And you know, shoot, I wish it was that easy, but it's not. And I think, you know, as I think about this a lot and trying to figure out, like, why are people not seeing the things we're seeing? And I think a big part of it is not having a real deep understanding of what's going on during bite work.
Socially, one of the things that we look for is a dog that's comfortable walking up to a group of strangers, and none of these strangers are going to be interacting with the dog. Some of us might be making eye contact with the dog. So we're watching how the dog approaches the group, because a group of larger men, especially if we're not enticing the dog, you know, making noises or trying to encourage the dog to come in our direction, has to march up to the group. We see so many dogs that fail just this portion. Walking up to a group of people, they take a glance, they look away, they do a little circle, they take another glance. Now you see their head bob up, down. Sometimes they go nose to the ground at that point. As they get closer, you'll start to see them getting farther and farther away from the group and trying to get farther and farther towards the back of the leash. And we have someone the dog knows best handle them for this in the beginning. Get the person you trust the most, walk the dog right up to the group. We're not concerned at this point at all as how the dog interacts with other people. We're looking at how the dog interacts with the people it knows best and how confident it is walking up to a group. So I'd say we probably have about a 75% failure rate just on this.
Why do you think that genetics has changed over time? Right, like the dogs we see now are not the dogs we want to see. We want the dogs we used to see.
Yes, I think that is the biggest problem. Everybody wants a nice grip, a nice detection, but the natural of the dog is more like that. It's complicated to explain. For me, my English is not good
okay.
enough, but
Do the best you can.
yeah. The genetics, it will change. The handler is not good enough or not smart in his head to handle with a strong and a more aggressive type of dog.
What about people that breed dogs nowadays? Do you think they're breeding for the right reasons? Do you think there's issues with breeding?
They will breed for the money.
Yeah.
I think. It's just everybody think he has the best dog, and they will breed them. They make some nice movies, but when you test the dog in the reality, it's a movie. It will not say everything.
A lot of times I think some of the misconceptions are people are thinking like this is going to be a dog that bites. On the police side, a dog that bites as part of its job, and it's very important that it bites a human when the handler says so. And on the protection side, the same thing. This is a dog that might have to protect a family or a person that needs extra security. So it's important the dog is capable of that. But if we don't want the mean dog. We don't want the dog that's coming up with hackles up. We don't want the dog that's concerned about self-preservation around a group of humans. We want the dog that comes in confident and open, almost like a golden retriever. Hey, I love everybody. That's what it's about at this point.
Everybody's focused on drive. That's it. Like they just want the dog like drive all the time. Pull out the toy. Look at the drive. And then they breed based on drive levels. They're totally forgetting the other very important attributes that are going to transfer over genetically, right? Like the nerve of the dog, how stable it is, environmental concern.
Yeah, and I think that comes from a false belief that if a dog's drive level, whatever drive you're speaking of, is there and it's high enough, there's the thought that drive level can overcome any of the genetic holes people see. And the reality is, maybe in one or two circumstances I can use drive to get a dog to overcome something. But if inherently the dog is genetically not stable and strong with a strong mentality, you're not going to be able to use drive to overcome that in every circumstance. You need them to be internally confident, not be worrying about things, and then we'll take drive and teach them how to navigate certain situations and scenarios.
It's important we look at the dog out of drive first. The first things we're looking at are socially and environmentally. And we want to see how the dog holds himself without a motivator right there. A lot of these dogs, especially dogs that they're being trained to be sold, they're very used to coming out of the kennel, someone having their Kong or their ball, and immediately going into hunt exercises or some kind of training exercise in drive. So right off the bat, we don't get a clear picture of how the dog holds himself. We're looking at training, not genetics at all. So training exercises are things we can work with and improve. Genetics are things that we cannot move that much. If the genetics are really good, we can do a lot to train the dog. If the genetics are not good, there's not much training it's going to do to get this dog to work in an environment that is possibly surprise scenario every call.
How many dogs do we see? They pull them out of the kennel, they have the Kong in their hand, they're doing a bunch of stuff, they're doing obedience, they're making the dog search, and then and it looks good, everything looks good, and that same dog, you pull it out without a toy, and it completely freaks out. And it looks at a human and is like, I don't know about that guy, I am scared of that guy. Just because it's no longer in drive. So you see what is actually going on in their head, and in their head they're very insecure and they're not confident.
They're not. Unexpected stressors to a dog are the things we are preparing them for, not the expected stressors. If I could train every single environment, every single scenario, every single place that my dog is going to be, this would be much simpler. But we're not, we can't do that.
And
Police officers, military, protection homes, those aren't robotic environments. They change from moment to moment. And that is what the dog has to be prepared for, not the known.
A lot of people would hear us talking about this and they're like, yeah, I get all that, I understand what you guys are saying, but I don't need that dog. And typically, those people that are saying that are, most of the time not living in a war zone necessarily, right? They're just gonna, maybe one time, maybe never, maybe twice, whatever, come in through a situation where they need that dog to operate. And that dog is the one that needs to be the best dog, right? Because it's gonna be unexpected. It's probably gonna be very stressful, right? Like for personal protection homes, right? Let's say somebody breaks into your house. It's probably gonna be one of the most testing times for your dog, because it's probably gonna be dark and it's probably gonna be extremely surprising. And most dogs, I think in the industry sold as personal protection dogs, are gonna fail in that environment. But if we're selecting the dog genetically proper and having the right development and training behind it, the dog doesn't care about anything. It doesn't care about it's dark, it doesn't care it's 2 in the morning. When you tell it to work, it's gonna work. Gerben, tell me your favorite dog.
Arnold Tino Kleineskaas.
Yeah? What about him? Tell me a story.
Arnold was a breeding male back in the past. He was first trained with Hendricks at Nijverdal, PH1 418, I think. Then got sold to a farmer. Tino Kleineskaas picked the dog up, was 7 years old, did object with him, and kept him for breeding. And I think he's also the father of Arco from Mike Suttle. Many famous dogs, and he gave in those times extreme serious offspring. I think more biters than hunters in my eyes, but real man stockers. That's a little bit his story, I think, and he's still in many dogs still today. In many bloodlines, if you go back, you find him as ancestor. So that makes it for me a good dog, because still in today's proven bloodlines he still is in.
So I think recently a lot of vendors, a lot of trainers, they're having a harder and harder time finding the right genetics for these jobs. And part of that reason is the way breeding programs have started to go. Not just breeding programs, but people that are hearing about this breed or that breed, and they're getting a male and female and they're breeding them. And we have breeders that'll just sell puppies to anyone, dogs to anyone. So what that does is starts to lessen and weaken the gene pool. And you have people, even professional breeders, that are breeding dogs based on color, breeding dogs based off the size of the head, breeding dogs based off aesthetics rather than character traits of the working dog. This is the most important factor when breeding working dogs. So I think we're seeing not only more health issues, but we're seeing weaker and weaker nerves. Even some of these dogs that have good drives, their nerves are not going to be capable of pulling them through higher stress situations. So we want dogs that are almost unaware of their environment. Don't make decisions, don't think too much about anything. We point you in a direction and you go without hesitation. That's why the nerves of the dog are so important. If you have a dog that's already aware of an environment or already nervous about new people, all those things are going to be big factors as the dog gets into higher level work that are going to add more stress to its life, and more stress is more likely to cause more failures.
How long have you been in this business?
For 40 years.
40 years?
Yeah.
When was it like the best dogs going out?
96.
96?
Aras, Rocky.
Yeah, yeah,
Aras the Flying Dutchman.
yeah.
Netro. Little noisy dog in the bite, but it's old-fashioned training, you know?
Yeah. If you could tell somebody something to...
Make a good selection, be honest. Also when you breed them, when not good is not good.
Yeah.
Don't talk everything good, you know? Many people say, hey, it's super.
Yeah.
And it's not.
Yeah.
When I tell you that's a young Tommy and it's garbage, and I say, I know, but it's a top quality,
Yeah.
you don't take me serious.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We take you serious.
Yeah, because
Because you're honest.
but I'm honest.
You're
It's
honest,
not
yeah. Always
not 100% is good.
No, I know. We appreciate that.
Do you think people breed these days not 100% on genetics, more on the way they look and their emotions?
Yeah, also, but breeding is also, you need also a little bit luck.
Yeah.
It's also important where the dog come, who train him. And I see more and more good trainers in the States.
Yeah.
Really, they can build up a dog and they make nice, good work.
Yeah.
In the beginning it was a mess, but now good people, good sport people around and who can raise a dog.
Yeah.
So you think the future of dogs might lie in of America?
Hey, go good, yeah. Too good.
I think what
What are we
Hans
gonna
said
do?
is very important. We get so emotional about our puppies that we breed and bring up that we say they're good because we love them or we love the line, and a lot of times they're not good. And to be good and be around a long time like Hans, you have to be able to say, no, this is crap. It's not what I wanted to make. And too many times I think people aren't doing that. Back in the day, the way we trained, like the dog is either really tough and can handle it and goes, or they wash out, right? And now, you're able to take maybe lesser dogs and move them farther than before. Yeah.
People in general have lowered their standards of some of the dogs they'll put into work, and it is a very wrong way to go about the dogs that we need and the work that they do. So, we had some interesting scenarios with some of the breeders some of the vendors we visited while we were overseas, telling us that giving clients too good of a dog sets their expectations too high, and then you have to meet that expectation each time. And we have the opposite mindset here. We want to give everybody the best possible dog that we can find for what they have to do. The job is too critical. So I think that this also contributes to some of the dogs we see out there. And this is how, for me, one of the things that really got me interested in this work was decoying for police dogs and military dogs and in the early days, and finding such big holes in these dogs for such important jobs. And it's what kind of pushed me in this direction. It started me kind of helping build some of these police dogs I'd see at trainings that were definitely too weak to be working, and we still see this today. Now, we like to hope that we're influencing people and educating people on how to choose and put to work the right dogs, but unfortunately they're still out there way too often.
I think also we suffer from the Walt Disney syndrome, that we like the breeding is less and less in comparison like 30 years ago, and we measure our dogs characters and emotions like Walt Disney does. That's why I say we suffer from Walt Disney syndrome, and by that we breed with lesser dogs. And so I think what Hank says is you have a good dog, but if you breed it, it will become lesser. You never get the same back because you also have the influence of the time. And like 30 years ago, the bad dogs went to a farmer somewhere, and the good dogs, only the very good dogs were bred with. And by the Walt Disney syndrome, also the minor dogs get bred.
Yeah. So people are getting connected emotionally to the dog and say, I want to breed that dog. But the work qualities aren't there.
No, that's right.
We see it too.
And, and that here and there you have a super dog, and then, but I think you have to put your whole freezer full with semen of that type of dog, because they get less and less, and you need that dogs to keep the breed the breed strong. That's for sure.
Hey, so when we're looking at these dogs socially, if we see a dog that's socially, let's say on our number scale between an 8 and a 10, or environmentally between an 8 and a 10, temperament-wise between an 8 and a 10, drive the same way, we see the genetics we're looking for, that's going to be a dog we can mold and do quite a bit with and get it to a very high level. If we see a dog that sits on a genetic scale, let's say of a 4 or 5, we might be able to make that dog a 6 or a 7 through intense training. But will it ever get to that highest level? It's just not there. So we really need to find a dog raw. Now, even if it's had some previous training, the big thing we're looking for in our testing has nothing to do with training. We have to be able to decipher the difference between previous training and genetics. And that is one of the most difficult things to do if you're testing dogs with a checklist. When we put a dog out, it's going out with our name on it. So it has to do what it's supposed to do.
Okay, good. Good, he's done drumming. I'm
there.
You don't know which the weapon hand is. I use it for your decision making. Die! Die! Close that door.
You ever think he'd be a movie star?
No.
Yeah, I always kind of felt like I should be a movie star.
Gabe.
Yeah, what are we eating?
How's the foot?
What else?
What else is I fucking hate this parking garage.
I think it's funny that people here don't know what a douchebag is.
Well, because, I mean, douche is a common name for cleaning. Yeah.
Cleaning, yeah.
What else?
Yeah, I look taller than you.
Hi, Chris.
Hey, do this. Since we're in a forest. Ooh, 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 ooh. Yeah, there it is.
Sprechen Sie Deutsch?